Welcome to Accessible Homesteading and Camping. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Accessible Homesteading and Camping. So today it's going to be short but sweet. My wife, as you know, has multiple sclerosis, and tomorrow is her infusion. So every 6 months she goes for an IV drip for several hours. She gets to sit in a chair hooked up to a needle and a bag, and it drops lovely chemicals inside her body as a disease modifier drug. Since she's been on it, it appears that she has had minimal relapses, which is definitely a plus, knock on wood. And basically, it's one of those things where it's the evil of the chemicals or the disease. And right now, we decided that it's best that she has the drug. Now, with this, she has to remain mobile to some degree. She can't be permanently in a wheelchair or they will cease her drug. That's something for debate, and I can let her get into that on another day. But as long as we keep her mobile, she's able to be on this drug. So it's the best for her and our family. We try to live a holistic life as much as possible. Sometimes it means chemical and prescription drugs are required to make it the healthiest life possible. With the best outcome. It's not for everyone, we understand. As I say, we try to live as much as a holistic life as possible. So we when we cook our hams, when we try to use as natural products as possible. And we even try to use like essential oils for flavoring in some desserts and stuff like that as well. Speaking of desserts, the last couple days we had a turkey here a few weeks back. When we were cooking the turkey, we had a power outage, so my mother actually cooked our turkey. I cooked the cranberry sauce on a wood stove outside because it was still in the high to mid 20s Celsius. So it was definitely a little too hot to have a fire going inside. So we cooked that up, had a nice big feast. And then yesterday, being Thanksgiving, we made a ham, had some friends over. We enjoyed sugar pie, apple crisp, and ham, and whipped potatoes and carrots. It was a great feast. We had the desserts today. I think there's none left. And I'll be adding recipes on our Pinterest as well as YouTube and Facebook and Instagram pages in the days to come. We actually had our first house fire inside our wood stove over the weekend. It was starting to get a little chilly outside, not too cold, but we sat there and I was able to have the nice fire going. It's just very peaceful to sit there and watch the flames, I find. It's not for everyone, but it's something I find relaxing and soothing to hear the crackle of the fire, feel the heat of the warmth of the wood flame, and wood fire is nice. It's starting to get colder now. Actually, we are potentially in a frost to 0 degree temperature tomorrow night, overnight. So we'll be having our pellet stove that we have on the wood on our deck greenhouse area up and running tomorrow night is the plan. We've actually taken reclaimed roofing, metal sheets, and used them as a surround around it to help deflect the heat and protect the walls a little bit. And old ceramic tiles underneath of it. Made a nice little hearth for it to keep everything safe, because our greenhouse and deck is attached to the house. The original deck was built in the 80s, 1980s that is, and then when my grandmother lived here, my father put a roof over to protect her from the sun. Then when my wife, son, and I moved in approximately 6-7 years ago now, we had acquired windows off the side of the road, and we put those up, which are single paned, which are a pain at times. And so I've ended up caulking around them, and we put plastic around the windows as well. I still have some more to do on that to make sure it's as airtight as possible. There is no insulation in here, but the exterior is surrounded with thin plywood as a protective barrier to block the wind at least. And the pellet stove, it runs off power, very minimal amount of power, but it still needs power, so it can actually continue to run all night long. So it should keep this nice and warm. It's a decent sized pellet stove. I had it was probably warming around 1,500 square feet, and this is only around 250 square feet. So it's a little overkill for the space, but it's definitely should work. Fingers crossed, that is. We're nearing the end of our harvest season for our outside produce. My father did up a few cans of pears today. Tomorrow he's doing an applesauce, and then a couple days after that he plans to do the last pickles. And that will be the end of all of our exterior products, our produce. We have our greenhouse growing inside. We have our spinach growing, tomatoes growing. We also have pepper and potatoes. We did have carrots, turnip, and onions. Now, unfortunately, I think we have a few turnips still growing, maybe a couple carrots, but nothing major. The cats used them as a bed to lay in and flattened them, and they didn't grow. The chickens also decided to use one of them as a bird bath. So gave himself a nice, lovely dirt bath. And so we have more stuff we want to grow. We're going to try some microgreens and some sprouts later on. Inside of our greenhouse, we'll be adding videos on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram of that. We also have some more renovations to do to our flooring here to make it a little bit more secured, keep the airflow from coming up from underneath. We plan to put like a subfloor down, whether it's vinyl flooring or plywood or some kind of flooring, and we'll keep the wind from coming up. The other thing is that we purchased a electric chainsaw which uses 2 batteries. It's actually something my father purchased for us to use. It's something lightweight, easy to go. So far, I've used it a few times, and it will cut a lot of wood. I was cutting maple that I had fallen with my gas-powered chainsaw a while back, so it's been sitting most of the summer just laying there, and or for a couple months anyhow. So I was cutting probably a good 8 to 10 inch thick wood with it, and it was chopping through it like nothing. The one thing I have noticed with it that is a little bit of a downfall, it's a little bit lighter, so it does bounce around a little bit. It just takes a little bit to get used to, but it's definitely nice to just put the battery on, walk over, pull a trigger, and away you go. There's going to be videos coming out on me using the specific saw. We picked it up off Amazon, and it's phenomenal. I have to say that it's one of the better chainsaws I've used for the price point that it's at. It's fairly inexpensive, and it's great to have that you don't have to sit there and pull on a cord and throw your back out trying to get it going. My back's been hurting me a lot lately, and it's something that I have to look after. And as you may or may not know, I am a lot of the times the lift for my wife to help her maneuver around and get around. We do have a Hoyer lift, which is a hydraulic lift, which does help immensely, but it doesn't always fit, and it's not always the quickest on when you need to move quick. So that's where I come into play. Now going back to the pellet stove on the deck, it does use a little bit of power. Our water pump for the hydroponic uses a little bit of power, which you may or may not hear in the background right now. And we also have our grow lights set up. So what our ultimate plan is to have it converted over to solar powered. And to convert it over to solar power, we may need to look at increasing our solar panel to make it a little bit bigger. And we also need to look at acquiring new batteries, because our batteries that I have here, they are car batteries from old vehicles, and they're not cutting it. They're not holding a charge, or they're not charging. I'm going to have to look at them to see if they're actually even worth trying to get a full charge into them to see if they'll work. They're not running my inverter, so something's not working right. And it's only a 500 watt inverter, so it's not a super powerful one. I have a 1,000 watt inverter too. That one's not working either. And the other thing is that we still have cats. I just had to go rescue our plant. It was in the hydroponic system trying to eat a spinach leaf. This is the cat we call Phantom Menace, It is black. It is very fortunate to be alive. Little side story. I was in the kitchen doing dishes one night, it's probably a month or so ago, and I could hear this little crying from a kitten somewhere. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I looked around inside the house. Our other kittens were in here, so I went outside looking. I found this kitten in a bucket that was about 2 feet off the ground in water. And it was doing everything it could do to stay alive. It was jumping up and down. So we didn't even know the kitten was born, because we try to have our cats, when they give birth, to have kittens inside. So we brought it in the house. I cleaned it up. I got it all dried out. And he's now staying with us. His name is Phantom Menace. He's our little instigator in some of our videos on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And he is an amazing cat. He's come a long ways. His mom had more kittens, and she had 6 of them this time, but we kept them inside the house, and all 6 are doing very well and growing very nicely. There's a few pictures of them up on Instagram and Facebook as well. But besides that, I'm keeping it short tonight. As I mentioned, we have a busy day tomorrow, taking my wife for her infusion, and I hope you all have a great evening. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube. Of course, right here on Spotify as well. Thank you, and have a great day.